Good evening, viewers. Welcome back to the PI show. We're talking about hospital bungles. Tony?
Oh, I'll tell you what, John, never ending this subject.
It never ends.
We talk about resources and everything that goes wrong. Look, I just want to go through a few things and just get your quick opinion about them. Yeah. One of the things that's been said is that you should make sure that doctors know everything about you and what you're taking in terms of medication. What do you say there? No.
Oh, that's it almost goes without saying, but you know, it is really obvious to restate the reason you've presented to a doctor or just before going into surgery. Let them know what is wrong with you.
And what medication you're currently taking.
Yeah. And along with medication, it's vitally important to let whoever know, or your practicing practitioner, if you're on any alternative medicines or natural supplements, because they can sometimes react with your medicine. So they need to know that as well.
So you've got to let them know about the medication you're on, whether it's prescribed or not.
Yes.
And also tell them about allergies and adverse reactions to different medicines as well, correct?
Because, that may not be so obvious.
What about this one here? Many years ago, the coroner investigated a case where the pharmacy couldn't read the script.
Well, we all know some doctors have some tragic writing. Look, I would always ask to have it typed out. It's so simple.
Well, I think the coroner's made a recommendation years ago that the script should be typed up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that eliminates that problem.
But then again, if you do happen to get a script that is handwritten, there's no harm asking the pharmacist or the doctor again, well, how do I take this? And when do I take it? Do I take it with food?
That's coming on to the next thing. You should, John, do you think you should ask the doctors and pharmacists how to use the medication?
Well, it should be told to you, but if the doctor doesn't say exactly what the prescription is for and how many tablets you're supposed to take, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask any doctor about medication that you're supposed to take.
So that's on the issue of directions on how to take medicine. Make sure you ask, because don't assume that what you're reading is accurate, because it can be ambiguous. Also, the other thing that you should be asking is that the medicine that was prescribed? I know it sounds simple, John, but does it often happen?
Well,
it doesn't sound simple. No, you're right.
You're right, Tony, because in the sense, mistakes do happen. We're talking about large organisations. People are very busy. Stickers can be placed on wrong bottles.
So in other words, if in doubt, don't take two. It's not like having two Smarties.
Well,
no.
Especially if the medication is reacting strangely with you, maybe another phone call to the doctor.
What about asking them about side effects, Nadia? What do you think?
I think that's definitely a must. You must ask them what the side effects are, especially if you intend to drive home from from hospital. Side effects are imperative. You must know them. So asking is something that you should do.
And John, I take it, Nadia, we can't mix alcohol, can we?
No,
well,
no, not that I know of, no.
John, just this is something that's probably close to your heart. Choose a hospital in which you know that they conduct those sorts of procedures, as opposed to one that doesn't.
Yes. Well, look, we know there's the public hospital system, and then there's a private hospital system. I'm not going to go into that, Nadia.
No, I don't think you should.
Views.
Yeah.
Well, look, can I say this? Recently, when I was in hospital, one of the nurses said to me, "You're better off in the public system because there's more nurses in terms of numbers to look after people that are in the hospital.
Look,
in the private system, there's a lot less nurses per number of people."
Without getting into too much of a public versus private hospital debate, I think we've got great talent in both of those sort of hospitals. Great. But choosing a hospital where you know a procedure has been done more so, I mean, that's important, but I guess it's more important to ask your surgeon where they have performed most and where they feel comfortable performing the procedure, because if they don't feel comfortable in a hospital, you'd be a bit sort of scared to go through with it.
Right. What about this one here? When being discharged from hospital, get them to explain to you what your treatment plan is. What do you reckon, John?
Well, that's ideal from either the surgeon or from your general practitioner.
I mean, you go home, you've got to know what you've got to do.
Yeah, look, sometimes a person's not in a great state to have that explained to them. So I think whilst it's important that they have it explained to them, perhaps having a family member nearby so that two people can comprehend what's going on.
And if in doubt, make a phone call, ask questions.
You've just got to be proactive about your health and about procedures that happen in hospital, because you can't always rely on someone else.
All right, now this is a classic. Surgery. If having surgery, make sure you, your doctor, and your surgeon all agree and make sure you're clear on what is being
That's
operated
right.
on.
You know, it sounds so simple, but it's the truth. For example, if you're going in for a left knee reconstruction, you can always ask the surgeon to draw on the left knee whilst you are actively, I guess, not under anaesthetic. And there's no harm asking for that either.
John, would you be surprised that in an article I read, the doctors, the orthopaedic surgeons are advised to sign their put their signature on the body part that they were supposed to operate on?
I'm not surprised, Tony. As you know, there's been past litigated cases whereby people have had, unfortunately, the wrong leg amputated in hospital. Body parts that were supposed to be operated on were not operated on. Other irrelevant body parts have been operated on. It's shocking cases.
So you're talking about someone getting the left leg mixed up with the right leg, right arm with the left
Well,
arm.
see, once again, it goes to knowing what you're going to have done, talking to the surgeon beforehand, talking to the anaesthesiist beforehand, just all being aware and taking an active role in your own health.
Well, at some point in time, maybe not this episode because we're not going to have enough time for it, but there's a classic case that's under investigation at the moment where a lady went in to have an operation on her vagina and she had her clitoris cut out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of debate.
That's right.
She wanted him prosecuted.
Yeah. Maybe for another show. Maybe for another show.
There was a lot of argument about, one of the nurses hearing that, I'm going to get you and blah, blah, blah.
It's shocking.
It's a shocking case where surgery, as it's been alleged, has occurred without the patient's consent. Now, consent is vital in all these matters. And not only that, it has to be informed consent, as in the surgeon must advise the client, the person that's been operated on, what the consequences or what possible consequences of injury are.
Sorry, John, informed consent as opposed to just consent?
Well, informed consent is, we could all say yes or no.
That's right.
But it's a bit more
well, anyway, that comes back to this major one that says speak up, have questions about questions or concerns.
Yeah.
You've got to speak up. You just can't be, I don't want to bag my father, but he'd go to the doctor and he'd just stand there and the doctor would say, he'd wait for him to diagnose. You've got to actually tell him something.
No, that's right.
I'll probably cop something.
Well, people are sophisticated these days, as in people can ask questions to doctors. They're not a special species of people anymore.
No, they're pretty open and friendly, and I think the main thing we've got to take away from this is that people need to be proactive in their own health.
And it's important that you've got a personal doctor in charge of your care. So you might be in hospital for a particular reason, but you do have someone that's interested in your care. Look, sadly, we're getting to that stage of a program where we've got to move on. And it's been good having you on, Nadia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Dr.
So
Nadia.
the camera sort of works for you.
Oh, thanks.
We might have to get it back. So
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nadia.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, John.
Viewers, don't go away. We're going to a sponsors break, and after the break, we'll have the mailbag.